Well, you have to callous your mind, your soul, your spirit, your drive, your mission. Build that grit, build that determination, build that consistency. All of these things are building a callus, not in a physical sense, but in a mental sense. It's building the vibration of callousing. And I don't mean callous as in being cold-hearted and unemotional. I just mean callousing in terms of durability and endurance to withstand failure, rejection, multiple attempts at the same thing and continuously being disappointed, to withstand frustration, all these negative things that happen to you. And see, that's where a lot of people fail because they have not or are not willing to go through the reps to get the callousing in order to be proactive about attacking their mission. Callousing is a perishable trait. It goes away if you don't use it. Okay, and that also applies to grit, your determination, your willingness to withstand all these negative issues, failure, rejection, frustration. You have to repeatedly and consistently put yourself in hard situations, sometimes on purpose. I do that on purpose. You just dive into the deep end and you got to swim or you're going to drown. You got to put yourself there on purpose to keep those calluses fresh and alive. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Young Nguyen, and as my friends affectionately call me the Ninja, my fans are my friends, so you can call me the Ninja too. This is the End-to-End Podcast, the Alpha to the Omega, the beginning to the end, talking about life, drive, motivation, success, self-improvement, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Feeling fantastic here in Houston, Texas. Weather's kind of shifting up and down, but it's getting cooler, which I love, especially on my outdoor. I'm on day 40-something, late 40s of 75 hard, maybe in the 50s. I'm keeping track in the app, but I don't remember at this particular moment because it all bleeds together at this point in time. But 75 hard. The thing about the cold weather, again, is that, when it's warm outside, you see a lot of activity, a lot of people walking around the bayou where I do my outdoor. When it's cold and it's like 40, 50 degrees, there's nobody there. So it gives me this empowering feeling like, hey, I am doing something that no one else is willing to do at that moment, at least. And so it lets me know that I have an edge over my quote-unquote competition. But other than that, feeling great. I'm going to start this episode as I start my day. And if you're new to the show, I always start each episode with an expression of gratitude. As every morning I wake up, I thank God, the universe, for another day to live. So thank you all out there who have been following, listening, sharing, downloading, ranking, commenting on Reels, podcasts, all the social platforms that we're on. Please continue to do so because that's the only way. That's the only way the inspirational message of this show gets out to our mission, which is to inspire positively billions of people across this planet. I do this show on my own dime, on my own time. No sponsors. So I spent a lot of money, spent a lot of time and investment in this show. There's a team behind this camera that you don't see. They spend a lot of time. So to get this out there, please do share the show. And so I say, if your knowledge swole, share the show. That is how we grow. Okay, so please do share the show. But going back to 75 Hard, this particular episode, I want to talk about callousing. Callousing, some people call thickening. Some people call it durability, but callousing. And what do I mean by that? There are several examples, me growing up, where callousing applies. When I was in third grade, I was invited by my musician teacher in elementary school to learn guitar, and wanted to learn guitar. And so ultimately, I still play to this day. But at the beginning, it was very challenging and difficult because why? If you've ever tried to play guitar, what happens over time? Well, when you first start, the fingertips on the neck hand, where the frets are, it gets really, really painful as you're practicing, as the strings are vibrating underneath your fingertips, especially when you have tender hands like I do. My mom always grabs my hands and say, your hands are so soft, it doesn't seem you've worked a day in your life. But in any case, I have. But the point is that when you start playing guitar, it's very painful. But the more and more you play it, the more you get these calluses under your fingertips. And the harder these calluses get, what happens? The longer you get to play. And the longer you get to play, what happens? the better you get to play, right? Similarly, you can't see it, or you may see it. You see these in here? These are calluses from lifting weights, okay? When you first start working out and you grab that bar, the bar has these serrated edges to give grip. But as you're gripping the dumbbells or the barbell or whatever, it starts to get painful right here, right? It gets painful. Some people wear gloves. I don't wear gloves because I just like the feel of the metal in my hands. But if you don't wear gloves, you get these calluses. Initially very painful. But over time, what happens? You build these calluses. It becomes less painful. You're able to grip stronger, and you can lift more weight. There are lots of examples of these physical calluses. I'll give you a couple more. Kickboxers in MMA, Muay Thai kickboxing. You know, whenever I watch them, you know, they always have that front leg guard where the front leg, if you're not familiar with martial arts, that front leg is kind of like hopping up and down, and they're kicking each other, right? It's one of their defense mechanisms or defense techniques. But they're kicking each other's shins sometimes, their forearms, elbows, and stuff. Like, if I were to kick something hard like that, obviously I'd be writhing in pain. So I always wonder, how did these guys build that durability to withstand these kicks into hard surfaces? Well, it turns out that when they're not training, they have a stick or a bamboo or some type of instrument where they're constantly rubbing their shins. To do what? To callus the bone. To withstand the impact, and therefore what? Become better kickboxers. Okay? This also applies to boxers. If you know a boxer and you feel their fist, it just feels like rock. It's like stone, and it's often bigger than the normal man's fist. That's the development of calluses on bone over years and years and years of hitting surfaces, right? So there is an abundant of examples of why callusing benefits your goal or mission. But why do I talk about callusing? Because 75 hard, things like that, also implies a mental callusing, right? What does that mean? Success requires the only one thing, okay? And that's not to give up, not to stop. You have to go on your mission. You have to take the steps. You got to do what? Hard things, right? Sometimes it's not the best idea. Many times it's not the best idea. It's the most dramatic technology that wins the day. It's whoever can stay in the race the longest. A lot of people, most businesses, a majority, I don't know the exact percentage, 80% plus, don't last a year, new businesses. So it's the ones that can last the longest that ultimately, what happens? You might be the last person standing in that industry. And guess what? You have no competition. So you owned that industry if you can stand the longest. And what does that mean? Well, you have to callus your mind, your soul, your spirit, your drive, your mission. Build that grit, build that determination, build that consistency. All of these things are building a callus, not in a physical sense, but in a mental sense. It's building the vibration of callusing. And I don't mean callous as in being cold-hearted and unemotional. I just mean callusing in terms of durability and endurance to withstand failure, rejection, multiple attempts at the same thing and continuously being disappointed, to withstand frustration, to withstand, I said rejection already, all these negative things that happen to you. You have to callus yourself against in order to succeed in business or whatever your goal is. You have to build the mental durability. So how do you callus your mind? I'll give you an example. Going through med school and then ultimately law school and then getting into, industry, they don't teach you networking in college and all these things. No, there's no class on how to network. There are professional classes, but as you're going through school, There's no classes on how to network. And so when I understood this early, meaning I needed to know how to make relationships and network with people in order to generate interest in business, ultimately, and ultimately close deals, sell, and so forth. I was bad at networking. There's no class. So I said, how do I get better at networking? Well, I, at the time, didn't have a lot of money, but I would just register for events around town, business events, networking events, whatever type of events. Some of them were free. Some of them, you know, had to pay 10, 15, 20 bucks, which is a lot if you don't have money. But I knew I had to put myself in the environment, right, in order to get good at it. So those first, handful, 5, 10 events, man, I felt like a fish out of water. You walk into the room, hide in the corner, don't talk to anybody, don't know how to start a conversation, don't know how to introduce myself. But I go, and initially, what do? I just observe. I'm watching professional salespeople, CEOs, executives do their thing, how they work a room, how they move from one person to another person, how they leave one conversation, excuse themselves, go to another conversation. I'm learning, right? But what am I doing? I'm callousing my mind to get over the fear of what? Social awkwardness, rejection, how to start a conversation, people turning away from me, people discounting me because I'm a young guy at the time, inexperienced. You have to get over these humps in order to get good at. And see, that's where a lot of people fail because they have not or are not willing to go through the reps to get the callousing in order to be proactive about attacking their mission. So ultimately now, a couple decades later, I've been to thousands of meetings. I'll enter any room, and it would be hard for me not to just vibrate at such a high frequency where I'm overtaking the room in conversation. Learn how to speak loudly, project my voice so someone in the other room, you never know. But if I'm having a conversation with one person here about call it crypto or the launch of Legacy X, and there's some, like maybe a crypto investor on the opposite side of the room that I may or may not meet at that event, I want to project loudly enough where perhaps that person hears. Right? We went from this to 10,000x. Now, for these early investors, they hear it, they come over, introduce themselves, and then we're doing business. Right? But you have to callous your mind to get over all of these internalized negative perceptions or feelings that aren't really reality, to be honest with you. But you got to build the callousing to get over the hump and stay in the game long enough. Right? Because in survival of the fittest, who can last the longest is the most fit. Whoever can last the longest is the most fit. It's survival of the fittest. And being fit means to callous yourself. Now, there's an opposite side to this, right? Now, I'll be honest with you. I do play guitar to this day, but I don't play it as much. Okay? So if you were to look at my fingertips, there's not much of a callus left. So I could probably play for 10, 15 minutes, 20 tops before I'll start feeling that pain again. Right? I guarantee you if I stop working out, these calluses on my fingers, right, would disappear. They just peel off, wear away. My hands would get soft again. Right? If a kickboxer stopped, scraping his shins, gets soft. So in similar instance, callousing is a perishable trait. It goes away if you don't use it. Okay, and that also applies to grit, your determination, your willingness to withstand all these negative issues, failure, rejection, frustration. You have to repeatedly and consistently put yourself in hard situations, sometimes on purpose. I do that on purpose. You just dive into the deep end and you got to swim or you're going to drown. You got to put yourself there on purpose to keep those calluses fresh and alive. If not, you lose them. If not, you lose them. So one thing I do towards the end of the year, leading into the next year, or in my strategy on quarterly situations is, or quarterly time periods is, try to envision or find things that are challenging and difficult and just put myself in it. Register for a conference I have no idea anything about. And go. Put yourself in awkward situations. You learn how to be flexible and adaptable, and adaptability is a skill that you need to callus. You know, in my mind, I walk into strange situations saying, look, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to own it. I'm going to own the situation and just dive straight right in. Because in the end, the more callous you are, the more you actually don't give a fuck what happens. You build this kind of air of confidence and invincibility and what I call unfuckable with. You just can't fuck with me. Whatever. I've been there, done that. So whatever. Throw whatever you want at me. I'm rolling with it. And when you do that, you just vibe at a different level. When you callous your mind, your body, your spirit, and I don't mean that again. I don't mean that as being non-feeling or non-sympathetic or empathetic. I mean that just by building that toughness and thickening of yourself to succeed. You're well on your way because what happens? You don't quit. You don't stop at the first sign of challenge or difficulty or something negative happens. You don't like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. I'm just not built for this. No. What you want to say is, hey, this happens and I'm built for this. What's next? Right? So I challenge you, look for awkward or challenging or hard situations, into this holiday season or looking past in the first quarter of next year. Find conferences, get yourself out there, do some things you have nothing about. And that helps you build your callousing. You only get stronger by doing what? Strong things. You only get faster by practicing fast things. So you're only going to build calluses by putting yourself in difficult situations where you have to learn, adapt, be quick on your feet, have durability, have determination, have consistency, all these things that are required to callus your being for success. So I'm going to end my episode as I began my episode and end it as I end my day with an expression of gratitude. So if you found something valuable about callusing your mind, your body, your spirit, please do like, comment, follow, share, subscribe this episode or any of the episodes that you listen to. I am thankful for you. And so I end this show as I end my days being grateful to you, to all the followers. It keeps growing and growing and growing on all our platforms. I want to thank you for all that you do in helping spread the word about the End-to-End podcast. Looking forward to bringing you another episode very, very soon. Be grateful for today, but be even more grateful. What's up?